Every year on April 1st, millions of people around the world play pranks on their friends, families, and even strangers. Fake news headlines appear online. Companies announce ridiculous products. Friends trick each other with harmless jokes. And for one day, the world seems to celebrate being fooled. But here's the strange part. No one actually knows where April Fool's Day came from. There's no official founder, no clear historical record, no single moment when someone decided that the first day of April would belong to tricksters and pranksters. And yet, this tradition has existed for centuries. So how did an entire planet end up celebrating a holiday built around deception? To understand the mystery of April Fool's Day, we have to travel back hundreds of years, to a time when calendars themselves were changing the way people lived. In medieval Europe, time wasn't measured the way it is today. Different regions celebrated the New Year on different dates. In many parts of France, the New Year didn't begin on January 1st. Instead, celebrations took place around the end of March and the beginning of April. For days, people would exchange gifts, visit friends, and celebrate the arrival of a new year and a new season. It was a festive time filled with gatherings, laughter, and celebration. But in 1582, everything changed. That year, Pope Gregory VI introduced a new calendar to replace the old Julian calendar. The new system, known as the Gregorian calendar, shifted the official start of the new year to January 1st. Many countries quickly adopted the change, but news traveled slowly in the 16th century. Some people didn't hear about the new calendar right away, others simply refused to accept it. And some communities kept celebrating the new year at the end of March, out of habit. Those people became the targets of jokes. According to one popular theory, people who continued celebrating the old new year were mocked and called April Fools. Pranksters would send them on pointless errands, invite them to fake celebrations, or trick them with silly jokes. Over time, the teasing became a tradition. But here's the problem with that story. Historians aren't completely convinced it's true. There are references to foolish behavior and prank-like celebrations long before the Gregorian calendar ever existed. Some researchers believe the roots of April Fool's Day might actually be much older. One possible origin takes us back to ancient Rome. Every spring, Romans celebrated a festival called Hilaria. The festival took place near the end of March and was dedicated to the goddess Cybele. On that day, people dressed in disguises, mocked each other, and played tricks in the streets. The atmosphere was playful and chaotic. For one day, social rules loosened. People laughed at authority, pretended to be someone else, and celebrated the arrival of spring with humor and mischief. Sound familiar? Another possible ancestor of April Fool's Day comes from medieval Europe. During the Middle Ages, many towns held festivals known as the Feast of Fools. These celebrations were wild and unpredictable. Ordinary people would dress like kings or priests. Religious ceremonies were turned into playful parodies. Authority figures were mocked. It was a day when society temporarily flipped upside down. The powerful were laughed at. The ordinary became important, and everyone joined in the chaos. Events like these were surprisingly common throughout history. Many cultures created festivals where the rules of society were temporarily suspended. But why? Some historians believe these festivals served an important psychological purpose. Life in the past was strict, hierarchical, and full of rigid social rules. People were expected to behave properly at all times. A festival of foolishness gave people a rare opportunity to release tension. For a brief moment, laughter replaced seriousness. And perhaps that human need to laugh at ourselves and break the rules for a day is the real reason April Fool's Day survived for so long. By the 1700s, April Fool's Day had become widely recognized across parts of Europe. In Scotland, the celebration turned into a two-day event. The first day involved sending people on absurd errands, known as hunting the gowk. The word gowk meant a foolish person or a cuckoo bird, a symbol of silliness. The second day focused entirely on practical jokes, and some of those jokes were very specific. One of the most famous pranks involved secretly attaching a sign to someone's back that read, "Kick me." The tradition quickly spread across Britain and eventually made its way to other parts of the world. As newspapers became popular in the 18th and 19th centuries, journalists began joining the fun. On April 1st, newspapers would publish outrageous stories designed to fool readers. In 1957, the BBC pulled off one of the most famous April Fool's pranks in history. During a serious television broadcast, the network aired a segment showing Swiss farmers harvesting spaghetti from trees. The footage showed people gently pulling strands of spaghetti from branches as if it were a normal agricultural practice. Thousands of viewers believed it. Many even called the BBC, asking how they could grow their own spaghetti trees. The prank became legendary. But perhaps the most fascinating thing about April Fool's Day is how universal it has become. Despite the uncertainty around its origins, the tradition now exists in dozens of cultures around the world. In France, children tape paper fish onto their friends' backs. The victim becomes known as a poisson d'avril, or April fish. In India, playful jokes are part of spring celebrations. In Brazil, newspapers once published fake obituaries on April 1st, though that particular prank eventually became controversial. And in the internet age, April Fool's Day has transformed again. Tech companies announce impossible inventions. Social media spreads fake stories that millions of people share before realizing the joke. Even major corporations participate in elaborate pranks. For one day, reality becomes slightly less reliable. And that might be the real secret behind April Fool's Day. For most of the year, society depends on trust. We trust the news. We trust the information we see online. We trust the people around us. But April 1st reminds us that sometimes things aren't exactly what they seem. It invites us to question what we hear, to laugh when we're fooled, and to accept that even in a serious world, a little bit of chaos can bring people together. After all, history is full of traditions that began for reasons long forgotten, yet somehow they survive. And April Fool's Day might be the perfect example of that. A holiday with no clear origin, no official founder, no single explanation, just centuries of laughter, confusion, and the occasional very successful prank. Even today, historians still debate where it truly began. But maybe that mystery is part of the joke. Because the greatest trick April Fool's Day ever played might be fooling history itself. And if you enjoy discovering the strange and surprising stories hidden in the past, make sure to subscribe, because history is full of mysteries just waiting to be uncovered.